I wanted to ask, like, what's the best advice for, like, maybe students and, like, young writers, animators who are trying to, like, write a show or, like, write a pitch for something, but, like, so many ideas just flying around. Like, how do you ground yourself and, like, catch the ideas in your
Index
head?
cards.
Yeah.
No, he's not being facetious. That's actually
Really?
very, very helpful.
Well, sticky notes work.
No.
It's got to be where
3x5 index cards.
No
Bulletin
5x7.
board, push pins.
Hello, Gargoyle Nation. Welcome back once again. As always, now and forever, I'm your host, Desi C, and as promised, back from a temporary hiatus, and hopefully you're here seeing why there was a temporary hiatus. I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to spoil the surprise. I didn't want to promise something and then fail to deliver. And in case you didn't read the title of this video, I got the chance to interview Greg Weisman this past weekend at TFcon. It was unbelievable. I first, of course, want to start off by saying again, thank you to Greg for allowing me to interview him. I was a bundle of nerves the entire time. Despite having questions, ready to go, I was blanking on every single one of them, so I'm really glad I had them written down. I think it went well. I'm hoping he did too. But yeah, we got to talk about, a couple of things. A couple of fun questions in there as well. And yes, so without further ado, here it is, my interview with Greg Weisman. So I am here with Gargoyles co-creator, Greg Weisman. How have you been so far?
I'm good.
That's good.
Very good.
That's great. So first question, how excited are you to be finally telling a part of Demona's story?
I'm very excited. I mean, I've got over 1,200 years of continuity, and so any opportunity to tell any of it is good news for me.
Right. Have you always known exactly what Demona's history is, or is it something that's developed over time?
From a big picture standpoint, yes. And there are certain touchstones throughout the 1,000 years that are, for lack of a better term, fixed. That I know this happened here and this happened here. Some of which we've revealed, like in the TV show and stuff like that, like her time in Florence and stuff like that. But 1,000 years is a long time, and that's fun about it. We get to fill in some of the blanks here, and Frank and I have been doing that. Again, there have been touchstones that Frank and I are going to be covering that were, like I said, sort of fixed points already, but we're also doing a bunch of stuff that he and I came up with now. Mm-hmm. And in any case, even with the ones that are quote-unquote fixed points, the execution of it it's not like I had those stories already written and locked in terms of dialogue and all that sort of thing. It's just sort of like, no, I know she's in this place at this time, and this is the basic thing that she does there, but it's not the same as sort of, okay, but now I've got to actually execute that story. Mm-hmm. And so it's been a lot of fun to be able to, it's a 5-issue miniseries plus issue 0, which is a prologue set in the present, which, for us is 1997. So getting to tell these 5 stories in the miniseries has been a lot of fun.
And speaking of Frank, how has it been being able to work with him again?
It's great. Frank and I, we're always a good team, and we're a good team here now. He's doing some just gorgeous artwork, and Robbie Bavard's doing great colors on top of it. It's kind of a joy, and I think it's just incredibly cool for the fans to get to see. I mean, the show was me and Frank, but it was me and Frank with 200 other people, so to speak, this is me and Frank, you know, and you get sort of this sort of pure, unadulterated stuff from the showrunner.
Right. How long have you been waiting to tell Demona's story? Has it been since like the get-go? And
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, pretty much day one. I mean, not since 91, but certainly since 94, for sure, probably 93.
Angelica, is she Demona's biological daughter or clan daughter?
Neither. You know, I'm not big on spoilers, but certain stuff got spoiled by the press release, so you know, there's an eye roll aspect to that question. But the answer to that is neither. She's not her biological daughter. Obviously, that's Angela. But how they meet up, I want to sort of leave to issue 1. And how that relationship develops, I want to leave to the whole miniseries. But yeah, she's the 2 options you gave. She's neither.
Okay. Will we be getting backstory for any other characters that we currently know about?
Yes.
Which ones?
That's such a good question that I'm not going to answer.
Is there anything kind of that's within the Demona series that you can tell us that isn't spoilery, that hasn't quite been revealed? No.
Think about that question.
I mean, it
has been revealed, but it's not spoilery. But what can you tell us? It's like, no.
Well, to me, it's like sometimes you're telling a story, it's like it has, doesn't mean anything. It's just, yeah, this happens. But yeah, I guess with only 5 issues, it's kind of tighter and not much that you can reveal that isn't a spoiler.
Right. I mean, what I will say is that this isn't the full 1,000 years. This takes place, this is 5 moments in time in Demona's life across the first 200 years since the Wyvern Massacre. I think there are 5 really interesting stories. They're connected. I don't want to make it sound like they're 5 unconnected stories, but they are 5 individual stories, and each story, this is something that Frank and I worked on, each story is kind of a different genre. So there's historical fiction in one of them, there's sort of swashbuckling adventure in one is a horror story, one is kind of a mystery, and the last one's kind of an elegy. So we really, I mean, I've only scripted one of the 5, but we've broken down each of the stories, and we made a conscious choice that each one is stylistically different, which will be hopefully, if we do our jobs right, clear from both the story, dialogue, and art as well, so that there's really a different feel for each of them.
Very cool. Is there any chance that the success of these comics will possibly get us the Time Dancer spinoff?
Obviously any further stuff is always going to be at least somewhat dependent on what came before, and if sales are really good for this kind of story, then yeah, I think it would help in terms of getting Time Dancer down the road. And if sales are bad on this, it's not going to help, and that's a pretty clear thing. We're not in danger of ceasing publication of Gargoyles material with Dynamite. We're still doing very well, but it is dependent a bit on things continuing to do well. If at some point it starts to drop off, then we're in trouble.
Exactly. Yeah. Is there a moment, just to deviate from now the comics, the Demona comic, is there a moment, whether in the show or in the comics, that you're especially proud of?
Oh, I mean, there's tons. I mean, you have to work hard to find stuff I'm not proud of. I'm like a proud parent who can't see the flaws in his kids. I love our cast, and there's tons of moments throughout the show that showcase each and every one of them. In the comic, I mean, again, it's harder to pick something that I don't like than something that than sort of figuring out one thing. I do think that the sort of cliffhanger ending of Quest was sort of a neat moment, you know, because I sort of follow with the fans, and I don't think they saw it coming, and so that was sort of cool. I do think that maybe there's this scene in Dark Ages where the captain is saying, he's not a captain yet, Robbie is saying, you know, die by fire, that's not a way I'd like to go. Or I forget the exact line, but Goliath sort of walks away and says, no one in there died by fire. And that worked for Disney because it's like, oh, they didn't die, so we're good. But of course, what Goliath means is we killed them all. So
They didn't die by fire. He's not lying.
they were all dead before the fire got to their bodies. So, and I do sort of like the sort of Dark Ages coldness of that moment. And then in the main series, I like in the Halloween special, I really like, you know, the bit at the end where the kids are saying, so Blackbeard was a gargoyle? And Nash is like, oh yeah, nasty one. I'm just sort of throwing that in there. I mean, I have plans for Blackbeard, obviously, but if we ever get to Time Dancer, but I also just love it as a throwaway line, like Blackbeard's a gargoyle. Oh yeah, really nasty. So that was fun. In the main series, I think sort of Coldfire stepping into her own by the end of that was pretty cool in there and in Quest. And you know, there are just moments, some of them thanks to George's art, where that I just think are pretty wonderful, like when Rosaria and Peter meet in the park before they're kidnapped. I just think that's sort of a beautiful page. I like the first meeting of all the gangsters when they're talking about Dominic coming to getting out of prison and that kind of thing. So there are just a bunch of little moments throughout the series that I think are pretty great, but I'm obviously biased, so.
I think we all are to a certain extent, so. And final question, are you at all disappointed that you didn't have any pies to taste at this show?
At this show? I'm so overweight right now that I guess the short answer is no. It's probably better for me that I don't. But on the other hand, I always like pie, so the answer is also yes simultaneously.
Well, thank you so much, and hopefully you enjoy the rest of the show.
I'm sure I will.
Great,
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And there you have it. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview as much as I did conducting it. I kind of want to say childhood dream accomplished, but as a kid, no. But definitely as I've been, you know, meeting, you know, VAs and stuff like that, just collecting autographs, the chance to interview one of them has kind of been on a secret wish list. So I'm glad I got to do this. So thank you again, Greg. Maybe one of these days, you know, a year from now, let's give it some time, conduct another one, because who knows what kind of gargoyle stuff will be happening by then. You know, as stated in the interview, we may get another spinoff. Who knows? So that is it for this one. As always, be kind to yourselves, be kind to one another, be the good that you want to see in the world. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.